Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Poema podcast. I am James Prescott, your host. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you all back here yet again, and I'm really excited you're here. And today we have a returning guest. I can't remember how many times he's been on the show now. Definitely more than his dad. A lot more now. I've lost count. But Trace Bell is back on the show. Welcome back.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me back. It's such a joy to be with you again, James. I think this is my fourth time on the podcast, fourth or fifth
Yeah,
time. I think
yeah,
it's one of those. Yeah.
yeah. It's one of those. Yeah. You've had a couple on with me, and then a couple with Tina. So it might be the fourth, but still, that's a lot. That's pretty good. Um, yeah, it's good to have you here. Trace does a lot of work around talking about uh, awareness, consciousness, spirituality, um, spiral dynamics, and a lot of other things. I would definitely check out his work if you haven't checked it out already. Today we're going to talk about a subject which we've never talked about on this show, which is sad, but it's really great we're talking about it now, which is the spirituality of music. And let me just introduce that subject because I want to, I think the best way to introduce it is to tell a story. So I went to watch U2 perform live in Cardiff about 10 years ago, I think. And I was right next to the stage. And they did Where the Streets Have No Name, with that guitar intro. And I remember closing my eyes and while this guitar solo was playing, while this song was playing, and feeling this energy around me that I just couldn't explain. And as the song went on, I just felt my body, I just felt my consciousness and awareness was almost separate from my body. My body was just, I wasn't even in control of my body. My body was just responding to the energy, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, that was around me, that was just there, this kind of presence. And as the song came to an end, and it's very, very powerful. I think at the end of the song, there was silence. And I looked around and I saw people were looking up in the air and they had their hands in the air, like they were at some kind of, worship event or something. Um, Mostly with their eyes closed. And I noticed that I was doing this as well. I didn't even know I'd been doing this, but my body had been kind of gravitating towards or opening myself up to this spirit that was kind of there. I was just in another place, in a sense. I was not in my body, really. And there was just this energy there that was supernatural. And this wasn't like a a Christian song or a religious song. Technically, it wasn't a hymn, or it was a rock song. And people were just having this spiritual experience with this song. And I knew this already probably by then, but I realized then that the power of music to connect with our consciousness and our bodies and to almost animate them, and how through music we can connect with the energy of the universe, the animating energy of the universe, which is like what I like to call God at the moment. And I knew that was something I wanted to explore more. And in the last 10 years, I've done that. And when I listen to music now, often I close my eyes and just let my body do what it wants to do. He wants to do, and I have spiritual experiences. And uh, I think it's something that we need to explore more. So that's kind of why we're doing this episode. What's your kind of experience of this, Trace?
Yeah, I really feel like music in a lot of ways was sort of my entry into spirituality. When I think about my early memories as a kid, listening to music is what took me to that wordless space.
Mm.
That space, it's a wordless space, so it's really hard to give a description to it, but it's that transcendent, wordless space filled with wonder and awe. And when I was a kid and I would listen to music, I felt like music really connected me to that space. There was some inherent mystery and magic and just sheer wonder and awe about listening to music and the way that it would make me feel. And I really feel like those early experiences listening to music is what first connected me to um, the beauty of consciousness, the wonder and awe of consciousness. And music has a really, really beautiful way to connect us to the transcendent part of ourselves by also connecting us deeper to the human part of ourselves as well. Music evokes emotion and allows us to connect to those deep emotional places within us, and allows us to connect to our authentic emotions on a really deep level. And that is what helps us then connect to the transcendent part of ourselves. So there's this beautiful paradox in um, the musical experience and listening to music, where it's connecting us to the transcendent part of ourselves, the part of ourselves that is beyond space and time, that's transcendent of everything. But it does that by connecting us to the reality and the raw experience of being human. So it simultaneously puts us more in our bodies and connects us to that transcendent place. So I really, music is just a very, very special thing in my life. And I really trace back my entrance into spirituality through listening to music and having these kind of transcendent experiences through experiencing music in that way.
Mm, that resonates a lot with me as well. Like, yeah. And I think I was listening to Guns N' Roses' November Rain. There's an amazing guitar solo on that song. And every time I listen to that guitar solo, I just go to a different place. And there's no words in that. It's a guitar solo. But there's something divine about it. And I think I said on Twitter once that guitar solo and my experience of it convinces me more of the reality of a divine consciousness than reading any book, like, because it's just so tangible and it's so real, and it's undeniable. Like, you can't deny your own experiences, and you're right. There is that kind of that synergy almost between your consciousness and your body, and they both have a reaction to it. And sometimes it's in harmony, and sometimes it's completely different. But like, I've noticed that when I give my body permission to do what he wants to do in response to music, it just does. He just does things that I'm not even in control of, and it's just I'm not even tired afterwards either,
Mm.
which is really interesting. Uh, yeah, it's fascinating how music does that, and I swear it must tap into some kind of divine energy. Like, there must be something that happens when you make sounds that kind of that's energetic almost, and that kind of taps into certain energies of the universe.
Yeah, I really feel like music connects us to that part of our mind that's beyond rationality. We have there's the pre-rational domain, which is everything that's kind of before rationality. We have the rational domain, and then we have what's called the trans-rational domain. And the trans-rational domain is the part of us that goes beyond rationality. It transcends rationality, but also includes rationality. And I really feel like music touches that trans-rational part of us, that we can rationally explain music and how it works. And we could take a whole class on the sort of quantitative view of music and how it exactly works, but we can't really describe the way that music touches our soul. And that's really the trans-rational piece of music. And I love what you said about letting your body move on music. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just to dance and move my body. When I need to move energy or move emotion, I just listen to music and just let my body just naturally move. And it feels like it connects me to this animating force, because I'm not thinking about where I'm moving my body. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to move my arm here and then move, uh, move my body this way. My body is just moving, and there's just feels like there's this divine animating force that's just taking my body in these different directions. And there's this perfect, just um, symbiotic relationship with my body and the music and the way that it's moving. And, ecstatic dance is a spiritual practice where people get together and just start dancing together, just moving their bodies in whatever way. And I had an ecstatic dance experience recently that was really, really powerful, and a very powerful spiritual experience for me. And so to be connected to music in a communal setting like that, and to be everyone moving their bodies, and it like being animated by this force that's beyond us, and to be doing that in with other people, where it's a judgment free zone and everyone is just sharing in the joy of moving their bodies and sharing the gift of the human experience. That's a really, really moving and beautiful experience. And I really hope, as we, in the coming decades, ecstatic dance in community becomes more popular, and that becomes a kind of staple in a lot of communities, is getting together and dancing, because it's a very, very powerful ritualistic experience that bonds and connects us to one another, and also connects us to the transcendent and the sacred.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, a friend of mine is a practitioner of ecstatic dance, and leads a lot of ecstatic dance sessions, and she's found it transformational. Yeah, and even in another community I'm part of, she's led some kind of Zoom group sessions of ecstatic dance, which I've been a part of, and it's amazing. It's like there's no shame. You're not looking at anybody else. You're not thinking about anybody else. You're not thinking about anything else. You're just connected to the music and the energy of that music and what it does with your body and your consciousness. And it's just it's powerful, and it's a spiritual experience. It's yeah. Like if I could do that all the time, like it would be great. Like if that's what heaven is like, that would be fantastic. But yeah, it's a. I think we underestimate, or not we, but some people can underestimate the power of music, the energy that it creates. I mean, even I don't know if this counts. I suppose it does count. I remember watching Live Aid in 1985, and like Freddie Mercury's performance, right? And there was just an energy around that whole place, which was generated by the music, but also generated by him almost being like a practitioner, like his presence at the front of the stage. He was communicating that music and he was communicating energy, and everyone was fully in the grip of like what was going on. It was like if you've seen Bohemian Rhapsody, you'll see kind of a interpretation of this. But it was he could have basically told them to do anything and they would have done it at that point because the energy was so powerful that was bonding them all together through the music. And that's what can happen. It's amazing. It's really amazing, and it can really be quite healing as well because it can. I've gone into those sessions really like stressed about something, and I've just been able to release it through the music because music is a great conductor of emotion. I think. If I need to sit down and grieve something, say if I'm having a day where I'm remembering my mum or it's her birthday or it's an anniversary, trauma anniversary or something, I'll put a song on that I know will connect me with that grief, and that somehow opens me up to crying.
Mm.
You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, I wouldn't have been able to cry otherwise. But if I put a certain song on, which has some kind of emotional connection for me, it will allow me to process that grief and to release it. There's certain songs that if they just come on, I will just start crying. Um, and it'd be everyone have songs like that. I think everyone have pieces of music, and it doesn't have to be a song. It could be just a acoustic bit of music. It could be just music that will mean something to them for some reason and will open them up. And that can be really like music therapy is really, really like I love the idea of that because it's certainly been therapeutic for me. It's helped me process my grief and my trauma because I've been able to find music which helps me unlock that. And music can unlock that for me in a way that other things can't. And that's the power of music.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said about certain songs can instantly inspire and evoke certain emotions. We can actually use music very skillfully in that way when we need some sort of emotional release. We need some sort of trigger to have to be able to express some emotions. If we have certain music that can evoke that emotion, I do this. There's certain songs that, like you said, make me cry, and sometimes I feel like I just need that release. I need that nervous system reset through crying, and I just go right to that song. And it's like that song I know is the song that does that for me, and that comes in handy, and that can be really helpful. And so, diving deep into our relationship with music, our relationship with certain songs, learning which songs do what for us, can allow us to have this these tools, if you will, that can evoke emotions when we need to evoke emotions. So there's a way to really skillfully use music in a lot of ways, but this is just one of the ways to skillfully use music, I feel.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really grateful now that you can create playlists. It's I'm on Spotify. I can create my own playlists. I've got a playlist which is basically I think I called it Songs of My Story, where I've just any song that's meant anything to me emotionally and it's been part of my healing journey. I just put on there, and I can go to that playlist and go to certain songs on that playlist if I need to just access tears or access joy or just to heal, or even sometimes to escape because sometimes the world is too much and you need to just escape for a moment and just be in another place, to release the stress that's on your body. And I mean, the other area of that music really touches me spiritually is movies and movie soundtracks. I love soundtracks. I listen to soundtracks so much, and if a certain character or a certain story or an element of a certain story in a movie resonates with me, I will make sure that I keep that song or a certain track and listen to that because it will take me to the emotions that I experienced watching that movie, which were really positive emotions or healing emotions. Um, there are some. I mean, the best soundtracks that I know. When you listen to them, they take you to a scene, and you know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what's going on when that bit of music is playing. Like, I mean, I love Superman the movie. Everyone knows this. Like, but the soundtrack to that movie is when you know the movie well enough. If you play the soundtrack, you know exactly what's going on the screen when certain music is playing. Like, you don't even need to be watching the movie. Like, there's other soundtracks that are like this as well. But it's like which just the Dune soundtrack is incredible. That really evoked a lot of emotions in me, and like all the themes of that movie because it's about spirituality, it's about identity, it's about transformation, it's about there's so many things that get evoked in that movie for me. So when I listen to the music for that movie, it kind of evokes those kind of emotions and those kind of thoughts. So it even helps me creatively because sometimes like music will take me to a place and it'll just create and I'll just connect with certain things in my consciousness, with my brain, or even in my brain, and ideas will appear. Like music has this certain music can help me creatively. I don't know. Have you found that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I before I do creative work, I like listening to music, and I like listening to instrumentals too, and
Yeah,
just sort of freestyling lyrics to instrumentals that I find on YouTube. I find that's a really good way to get my creative juices going. Um, to listen, just listening to instrumental tracks and just kind of like there's not even really doesn't even really need to be like real lyrics, but just kind of like humming melodies that I'm kind of creating on the spot to these instrumental tracks. I feel like that gets my starts connecting different parts of my mind and just really gets me in like that creative flow. So I love utilizing music for in that way for creativity. I also like listening to actual music with lyrics too for creativity. But I prefer listening to instrumentals and just trying to come up with my own melodies, humming along. I find then when I start to do my creative work and write, things are just coming out much easier, and I just like it just feels like it really grounds the creative process and just really gets my creative juices flowing in a powerful way.
yeah. I have the same thing. Um, Again, it's just um, it's I don't know how it's difficult. You can't. That's the thing. We're on a podcast, so we're talking, but it's difficult to explain it in words. That how music does that. It just unlocks things, uh, and yeah, I can't explain it really. There'll be certain bits of music that I put on, and suddenly I'll have ideas. Um, yeah, yeah. And actually, the other thing as well, I think that I've noticed that that different kinds of music can activate different parts of my brain. So there'll be certain some songs with lyrics. There'll be certain lyrics in songs that I love that will connect, that will unlock something because of the lyrics. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it'll be, yeah, sometimes it'll be an idea, or sometimes it'll be some kind of trauma that I'm processing, or tears, or but other times there'll be it'll take me into kind of an ecstatic experience, like um, and that will be just the acoustic stuff without any words. But sometimes there's a bit of both where you have the sound kind of takes you to a certain place, but the words with the sound kind of create this cocktail, um, which moves you and takes you to another place, but also inspires you. Like, and I don't know, there's different types of music that have different effects, and again, it depends on the individual because there'll be certain lyrics that will connect with somebody because of something that they've experienced that will be unique to them. That might not mean anything to somebody else, but I mean, there's songs that when I listen to them, I just get moved to tears that other people won't understand. They won't understand why. And yeah, because lyrics is a big thing for me. I mean, as a writer, I suppose words are important to me. So um, some words, like, I mean, and it can be anyone as well. It can be any kind of music. I don't have a favorite genre. So I like AC/DC, and I like Rage Against the Machine, and I like U2, and I also like acoustic music, and I like pop music, and I like Taylor Swift. Like one of Taylor Swift's songs from her Evermore, was it Evermore album? No, it was Folklore. Um, there's a song on that where she does a duet with and I'm going to forget. It's a duet, and it's one of my favorite songs. Fragile. I think is it Fragile? Oh no, I've forgotten. I've forgotten. God, I'm rubbish at remembering names and things. But there's a song that was. It's like a conversation between a man and a woman, and it was about her leaving him behind. And yeah, and I remember listening to it, and it was almost like it was describing my deconstruction journey. Like the whole conversation, it was like me having a conversation with toxic religion. It was
Mm.
like me having a conversation with certainty. Like, and when I hear that song, I hear myself talking to these to these things which harmed me, and having this conversation, and like, this is what I was feeling when I was going through this. So it resonates really, really deeply, like with my story. And it's a Taylor Swift song. Um, and I never expected a Taylor Swift song to resonate with my story. I'll be honest. And but it did. And it was such a powerful moment for me when I shared this song. I shared this with other people that I knew, and Exile. Yeah, that's what it's called. And I shared this with other people that were deconstructing, and they had the same experience because the lyrics were so. I mean, Taylor likes a lot of breakup music, but the lyrics were so powerful that I just felt like this was me saying things. I was able to say things to toxic religion and to people that had harmed me that I hadn't been able to say when I was going through it, and just
Mm.
being able to experience that through that song was healing. Um, and so it wasn't necessarily a transcendent experience, but it was a healing experience. Because of the lyrics of the song. Whereas other songs, I'll have a transcendent experience, and the lyrics will almost disappear, or there won't be any lyrics. So music
Mm.
can affect us and heal us in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does produce these different experiences, and I think music really speaks to the universalities in the human experience. There's a paradox in music in that every artist that's creating music has their own unique life experience, and no one really knows what it's actually like to be them. We only have our own subjective experience, and no one can really know what each of our subjective experience is like, but we can express our subjective experience in a way in which it names these universals in the human experience that so many people can relate to. And I love that story you told about connecting with Taylor Swift's music. Like, you wouldn't think that you would be able to, relate a lot to Taylor Swift's story, but Taylor Swift she's an artist that's able to create and really express her own experience in such an authentic way that it connects with yours, and you can feel the universals. I mean, heartbreak, grief, pain, suffering, joy, ecstasy, bliss, these are all universal human experiences
Yeah,
that all have their own unique expression in our unique experiences. But when artists can capture that in such a vivid and compelling way, and it can connect with your heart, that's a really, really beautiful aspect of this human experience. And it's really a bonding aspect to feel that someone else's experience, you can relate that much to someone else's experience, and they've put out art that you can feel on that deep level. That's a really it's just really, really beautiful.
yeah, and it's amazing that there'll be people that you would never have expected to have that effect. And I think that just, I mean, I've never been a kind of bound to one genre but I've never been a music snob really. Like, I just like what I like. I mean, I love Rick Astley as much as I like Foo Fighters. I mean, they've played together as well, which is kind of cool. But so, and I think I'm glad of that because it allows me to have experiences with music of all different types, and from all different kinds of artists and all different genres, like every genre that you can probably think of. Like, I remember going to a trance event in London about 10 years ago, and anyone who knows me going to a trance event is like the most unlikely thing ever. But I had one of my best friends was really into it, and he wanted me to go, so I went with him. And like, I remember being in one of these like gigs, and it was just like trance music, no lyrics or anything really, and it was one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. Like, because and everyone was having this experience. A lot of people had their eyes closed. A lot of people were just moving, were less letting their bodies move with the music, and just And again, it was like this kind of ecstatic. It was like ecstatic dance in a way, because it was spiritual, but it was physical, and it was, and everyone was immersed in it, and the room had this energy which has been created by the music largely. And and again, it's another genre that's probably not my number one genre that I would listen to or you'd expect me to listen to, but I was still able to have an experience with it, and that's the beauty of music, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really excited about as we move into the future, more communal music experiences, more
Mm.
um, more of those experiences where people um, can connect and bond through these shared experiences with music. I mean, obviously we have concerts right now. Um, there's underground raves, but there's a way to even bring this more into the mainstream so that it's like a ritual and it's like a culturally we recognize the importance of this ritual of connecting through music. um, a lot of people had it in church, but they outgrew their church and had to leave because the church, their own value system and belief system was no longer compatible with the value and belief system of the church they were at. So a lot of people have experienced it in that way, but there's an up leveled way that we can create these communal music experiences that really allow us to bond with each other and connect with each other on a heart level. And I'm excited about seeing how we implement those and do that. I don't really have a bunch of answers for exactly how we do it, but I have an intuition and I have a feeling that that will be a part of humanity's next evolution as we learn how to connect with each other deeper and learn how to really live in a more harmonious way with each other and the planet, is that
Mm.
these group musical experiences
Yeah,
um,
I agree.
become more prominent and more of a focus.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Yeah, um, absolutely. And it's, for me, as somebody who's kind of spirituality is kind of beyond the boundaries of religion now. Those kind of experiences will, and say it's ecstatic dance, for example, where you can just go and just be, and you can have your own spiritual experience and your own embodiment experience and consciousness experience. And it doesn't, and it only has to be yours. But yet you're in a room with other people who are having theirs, and you're all somehow connecting with each other as well as with what's out there, like or what's in here, because it's not just out there, is it? It's an And that can be a beautiful thing, because it means that we can all have our own unique spiritual journeys and yet also share them collectively in community, which is
Mm-hmm.
really beautiful. Like I'm part of a couple of communities where I can do that already, like in terms of digitally, like where we all have our own journeys. They're all different, but we're also sharing them with each other and supporting each other in those journeys. And where there's no hierarchy in those communities. It's very egalitarian. It's very kind of it's a different kind of structure. It's not hierarchical structure. It's healthy blue structure, I suppose. It's
Mm-hmm.
where we are facilitators rather than leaders. Where we're just helping each other, and equipping each other and loving each other. And yeah, that is way more beautiful than anything that I've experienced before. And I agree with you that it will. That's where it's going to go. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too. And so much of our trauma is we were taught that we weren't allowed to express our bodies in certain ways. I mean, we have so much self-consciousness about our bodies and we feel
Mm.
we have this internal judgment about our bodies. Um, and it's a real problem. And we've so many of us have grown up in environments, whether it was immediate family or just cultural conditioning and kind of larger societal conditioning that told us that um, we shouldn't move our bodies in certain ways, and we have to look a certain way, and we have to meet some sort of image. That to be in spaces where we just have the freedom to just move our bodies with the sacredness of music, and we're in a completely judgment-free, loving space and a container that's held so well, that's a really, really powerful experience. And we just have so much trauma around our bodies and so much judgment that creating these spaces for people to get together, to connect with one another, and to be able to just move their bodies in this free space, where they're not having to um, you know, internally judge and observe themselves. They can just let all of that go and just move with that animating force that I was talking about earlier. That's
Mm,
it's a really, really powerful healing experience, and it's a healing experience that we really need culturally. And I'm super, super excited about that being something that people experience more and more as we develop as humans.
I agree. Yeah. Actually, I was at an event a couple of years ago, and there was a dance party afterwards at a bar, and like there was disco music going, and there was a dance floor. And one of the older guys there, one of the kind of facilitators, he was, I think, in his late 40s, early 50s, and like he he did this amazing thing. Like he was quite big, like physically, not like your kind of stereotypical kind of, you know, this is the acceptable body size, like kind of thing. That and he, as an example to everyone else, basically, when the music came on, he took his t-shirt off, like, and went bare chested and just danced. And he was like, "Everyone, no shame, just come and dance, just dance without any shame." Like he just said, basically, "F you to shame," kind of thing. Like everyone should just be able to dance in their bodies as they are, and they're beautiful. Like, and that's what I'm doing. And it was great. It was so great, and it kind of inspired a lot of the people that were there to just get out there and dance without any shame at all, and with any sense of self consciousness. And people could just be who they were and just express their bodies in dance. All different shapes, different sizes, different. Like it was, there was no shame, and it was just a beautiful experience. And I'm not like your, kind of traditional acceptable body shape either, and so it was really helpful for me to just let go of that, because I used to get really self conscious when I went up and danced, and since then I haven't, because I just realized, like, I don't need to be ashamed of who I am, my body. I can just be,
Hmm.
and if people have got a problem with it, that's their problem, not my problem, and it was really liberating, and so hopefully we can have more of that, because we need to let go of these kind of, the shame around our bodies, and expressing our bodies and what's going on in our bodies, and have a healthy relationship with our bodies. And I'm lucky that I've got a healthy relationship with my body right now, where I can do that, and
Mm.
I don't have that shame anymore. And it's really, really, I really encourage everybody else, build a healthy relationship with your body, because it can be so, so rewarding. And this can be part of that. Having a healthy relationship with music and dance and can be a really important part of that.
Yeah, yeah. And this is it's all just bringing us back to our roots as humans. When we lived in tribes, early humans, music was such a ritual for these humans, and connecting through music. And um, we know we've in our modern world, we've lost so much of the wisdom of our early ancestors. We've lost so much. We have such a disconnected humanity right now because we've forgotten and we've repressed those like essential aspects of being human, and music is one of them. And sharing communal music experiences is one of those early core human aspects, things they did. And yeah, as we in my work teaching spiral dynamics, one of the biggest themes of my work is how we actually create this better future, not only by adding new emergent qualities and new qualities into the future, but also by going back and claiming the healthy and beneficial aspects of what came before us, because we have to transcend by including the past. And our
Yes.
culture has transcended by repressing. We've repressed all this essential wisdom.
Yeah.
So when I teach spiral dynamics, a lot of the focus is going back to these earlier phases of humanity and claiming these essential, core, beneficial, healthy aspects and learning what each of these phases was saying about what it means to be human. Because each one of our phases that we've gone through as humans has saying something extremely profound and important about what it means to be human. So if you're curious about learning more about spiral dynamics in relation to music, I really see these early musical experiences in early human history occurring around stage purple, and our culture is so repressed stage purple, so we really need to um, as a collective reclaim these healthy purple aspects and these core human um, rituals and ceremonies that connected us to the core of what it meant to be human and what it meant to be participating in this evolutionary universe.
Absolutely. And I highly recommend Tracy's work on spiral dynamics. I've done a lot of it myself. I'm in a community with Trace where we explore that. So I highly recommend it. Do check it. Do check that out on his website. It's really great. He has a lot of wisdom and insight onto spiral dynamics, as does his partner Tina as well. So, uh, yeah, this has been a really great conversation. I really enjoyed this. This is like, yeah, I just I love talking about these kind of things. That and there's probably more we could talk about as well. But thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, James. This was an absolute blast to be able to discuss this fascinating and enlivening topic. And yeah, I'm just so grateful I got to do this with you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And where can people find your work?
People can find my work at open-aware.com. That's my work. That's most of my spiral dynamics work and the work that I do with my partner Tina. And then if people want to find my individual work, that's at tracebell with 3L's.com. So TRACEBELLL.com for my individual work.
Fantastic. And I really do encourage everyone to check those things out. So I'm sure Trace will be back on the show at some point as well. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show, Trace, and thanks for listening, everybody.